Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Texas Victory Garden. My name is Jared. In this episode, we'll be looking at what kind of soil we're going to choose to put into our raised beds. So there's really two different options. The first option is you could use the existing soil, put into your raised bed. The problem with that is you're going to have lots of different components that you really don't want in there, and it's not going to be an ideal substrate to grow your vegetables in. So you can have things like a lot of clay, weeds, rocks, all kinds of things that you don't want in your raised bed. So instead of that, I recommend using a soil made for raised beds. So an exterior source of soil. Either you take different components, put them together to make that soil, or you buy a pre-mixed one and just put it into the garden bed. So the mix that I use in my garden, and the one I recommend, is called Mels mix, and it comes from the All New Square Foot Gardening book by Mel Bartholomew, and he talks all about it, the mix in here in the book, but I'll just go over it real fast. So you got 1 part peat moss, and peat moss is basically a decomposing plant type material, and it doesn't have any nutrients. It's just there to hold the water, and it doesn't hold excess water, so it holds just the right amount of water you need in order to water the plants, and then the rest of the water keeps on going, so it doesn't drown the plants. It gives them just the right amount of water they need. And then the second part is 1 part compost. In compost, you can either have your own homemade compost, or you can go to the big box store and get like a cow manure compost. And so the compost is where you'd be getting all your nutrients for your plants. And the third part is 1 part vermiculite. And vermiculite is a finely ground micro rock. And what that does is just kind of it gives the soil kind of a fluffy mixture, and it also retains a little bit of water. And so these 3 components together make a great mix. It's a light soil that doesn't compact a lot, and it allows the roots to grow out really good, and it feeds them with the compost, and then it retains the water also with the peat moss and a little bit of the vermiculite. And so you need 6 inches of this mix in your raised bed garden. That's all you need, unless you're doing something like potatoes or really long carrots. You might need something bigger than that, but usually just 6 inches is all you need. So get all these components together and measure out how much you need per square foot. So these are all the ingredients you're going to need to make your Mels mix. We've got 1 part peat moss, 1 part compost. All I have right here is cow manure. Ideally you want different sources of compost, maybe a mushroom compost or rabbit compost, and then 1 part vermiculite. So I have all these 3. I'm gonna mix them up, and altogether I have, I think it's 8 cubic feet. I have 3 cubic feet, 3 cubic feet, and this one's only 2 cubic feet. Ideally you'd want 3 cubic feet, but it's not an exact science. So altogether I have 8 cubic feet worth of soil material here. And then this right here is a general purpose raised bed and potting mix. So I'm going to take this and add it to this just to fill out my bed. I need 16 cubic feet of soil. I've only got 8 cubic feet here. So this will help. This will be the other 8 cubic feet I can add of this. So let's go through each of these, open them up, and I'll show you what they look like and kind of what the purpose of putting them in the Mels mix is for. So the first material that we're going to use in our Mels mix is going to be called peat moss. And what peat moss is a decomposing plant material. And the reason we use it is because it makes the soil lighter, and it helps retain water. So as you can tell, it's just a really fibrous looking plant material. So the second material we're going to use for our Mels mix is going to be compost. This right here is a composted manure from cows, but you can have all kinds of different composts that you can use. You can use rabbit compost, vegetable composts. Ideally you would like to make your own compost, but when you're starting out and you don't have compost ready, you can go ahead and buy some from the store. Ideally you want to choose different types of compost. And so the reason we use compost is that's where all our nutrients and our minerals and everything like that are going to come from. So usually it's just a really dark looking dirt. The last material we're going to put into our Mels mix is going to be called vermiculite. And what vermiculite is it is micro rock that is mined from the earth, and it is then, they take the rocks and then they grind them up and then they heat them up to a certain temperature,
and you're left with something that looks like this. And the reason we're using this is that it's going to make the soil lighter and it's going to retain water, much like the peat moss. So out of our 3 different components, the vermiculite, the compost, and the peat moss, only one of them you have to reapply every year, and that's the compost, because you got to keep on putting those nutrients in there. But the vermiculite and the peat moss, you're only going to put in there the first time, and after that you don't have to worry about it, because those materials are not going to break down and be utilized by the plants like the compost is going to be used.
So that's all I have for y'all today. Just remember, the main things that you're going to need to know is you only need that 6 inches of soil, and that it's the one that I recommend is called Mels mix, 1 part peat moss, 1 part compost, and 1 part vermiculite. So until next time, God bless and have a good day.